Nobody expected the phone call that would change basketball forever. Larry Bird, the stoic Boston Celtics legend known for his trash talk and competitive fire, found himself staring at news that turned his greatest rival into something far more important, a human being facing the fight of his life. When Magic Johnson's HIV diagnosis became public on November 7, 1991, it didn't just shock the sports world. It shattered the foundation of one of the most intense rivalries in basketball history. The man who had battled Magic for championships, who had exchanged heated words in fierce competition for over a decade, now faced the possibility of losing his greatest opponent not to retirement, but to me far more devastating. What happened next would reveal the true depth of respect and friendship that had grown beneath years of on-court warfare. Magic Johnson's announcement of his HIV diagnosis on November 7, 1991 sent shockwaves throughout the basketball world and beyond. The 32-year-old Los Angeles Lakers superstar, who had just begun the 1991-92 NBA season, held a press conference at the Forum in Los Angeles to reveal that he had tested positive for HIV and would be retiring from basketball immediately. The announcement came at a time when HIV and AIDS carried enormous stigma and were widely misunderstood by the general public. Johnson's revelation was particularly stunning because he appeared to be in perfect health and was coming off another successful playoff run with the Lakers. He had led Los Angeles to the NBA Finals just months earlier, where they lost to Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls. The diagnosis meant that one of basketball's most dynamic and beloved players would be stepping away from the game at what should have been the prime of his career. The medical understanding of HIV in 1991 was far different from today's knowledge. Many people believed that HIV was a death sentence, and there was widespread fear and misinformation about how the virus was transmitted. Magic's announcement brought national attention to the disease and helped educate the public about HIV awareness and prevention. The timing of the diagnosis was particularly cruel for Magic, who had built his career on his infectious smile, incredible basketball IQ, and ability to make everyone around him better. His rivalry with Larry Bird had defined the NBA throughout the 1980s, and their friendship off the court had become one of the most celebrated relationships in sports. Larry Bird's relationship with Magic Johnson began in college when Bird's Indiana State team faced Magic's Michigan State squad in the 1979 NCAA championship game. That matchup, which Michigan State won 175-64, became one of the most watched college basketball games in history and launched both players into NBA stardom. Their rivalry continued when they entered the NBA in 1979, with Magic joining the Lakers and Bird signing with the Celtics throughout the 1980s. Bird and Magic faced each other in 3 NBA Finals matchups, with the Lakers winning in 1985 and 1987, while the Celtics claimed victory in 1984. These finals battles were more than just basketball games. They represented a clash of styles, personalities, and regional identities that captivated the entire nation. Bird's Celtics embodied blue-collar toughness and fundamental basketball, while Magic's Lakers represented fast-paced entertainment and Hollywood glamour. Their contrasting styles and the historic rivalry between their franchises created perfect storylines that helped elevate the NBA's popularity throughout the decade. Despite their fierce competition on the court, Bird and Magic developed a genuine respect and friendship off the court. This relationship was highlighted in a famous Converse commercial where they played one-on-one in Bird's hometown of French Lick, Indiana, showcasing their personalities and mutual admiration despite their competitive nature. Questions arise about how Bird processed the news of Magic's diagnosis and what emotions he experienced upon learning that his greatest rival and friend was facing such a serious health challenge. The implications could suggest that the news affected Bird more deeply than most people realized, given the intense bond that had developed between the two players. When Magic's diagnosis became public, Larry Bird was entering his 12th NBA season with the Boston Celtics. At 34 years old, Bird was dealing with his own health issues, including chronic back problems that would eventually force his retirement. The Celtics had struggled in recent years to match their earlier success, and Bird was no longer the dominant force he had been in his prime. When Magic's diagnosis became public, Larry Bird was entering his 12th NBA season with the Boston Celtics. At 34 years old, Bird was dealing with his own health issues, including chronic back problems that would eventually force his retirement. The Celtics had struggled in recent years to match their earlier success, and Bird was no longer the dominant force he had been in his prime. Bird's initial reaction to Magic's announcement was reportedly one of shock and deep concern. According to teammates and friends, Bird was visibly shaken by the news and struggled to process the reality that his longtime rival was facing such a serious health crisis. The competitive fire that had always driven their relationship was immediately replaced by genuine worry for Magic's well-being. The basketball community rallied around Magic following his announcement. But Bird's response was particularly meaningful given their history and rivalry. Their relationship had evolved from bitter competitors to respected adversaries to genuine friends. And Bird's concern reflected the depth of tier connection beyond basketball. Bird's own career was winding down due to his back injuries, and the possibility of Magic's sudden departure from basketball created a sense that an era was truly ending. The two players who had to find the NBA throughout the 1980s were both facing the end of their careers. Though under vastly different circumstances, sports analysts wonder whether Bird's reaction to Magic's diagnosis influenced his own perspective in basketball and life priorities. The situation leaves room for speculation about how the news affected Bird's approach to his remaining time in the NBA and his relationships with fellow players. The 1992 NBA All-Star Game in Orlando became an emotional tribute to Magic Johnson, who was selected to play despite his retirement announcement. The game provided an opportunity for the basketball community to honor Magic and show their support during an incredibly difficult time for him and his family. Bird, who was also selected for the All-Star team, participated in what would become one of the most memorable All-Star games in NBA history. The weekend featured numerous tributes to Magic, and players from both conferences united in showing their respect and admiration for their colleague who was facing such an uncertain future. The All-Star Game itself became a celebration of Magic's career and contributions to basketball. Players who had competed against him fiercely throughout their careers put aside rivalries to honor a man who had elevated the entire sport through his play and personality. Bird's participation in the weekend's events demonstrated his commitment to supporting Magic during this difficult period. The normally reserved Bird was observed showing unusual emotion and openly expressing his concern for Magic's health and well-being. Legal experts note that the All-Star Weekend provided a platform for players to show solidarity with Magic and to help educate the public about HIV awareness, which was desperately needed given the widespread misinformation and stigma surrounding the disease. The Dream Team selection for the 1992 Olympics in Barcelona became another significant moment in the Bird-Magic relationship. Both players were chosen for what many consider the greatest basketball team ever assembled, providing them with one final opportunity to compete together rather than against each other. Magic's inclusion on the Dream Team was initially controversial due to his HIV status, as some international players and officials expressed concerns about competing against him. However, the support from his teammates, including Bird, helped convince Magic to participate and showed the basketball world's unity in supporting him. The Olympics provided Bird and Magic with a unique opportunity to spend extended time together as teammates rather than rivals. Their friendship deepened during the training and competition, and they were able to create new memories together while representing their country on the world's biggest sporting stage. Bird's support for Magic's Olympic participation was crucial in helping Magic feel comfortable and welcome on the team. The respect and friendship they had developed over their careers became even more apparent as they worked together toward a common goal of winning Olympic gold. The Barcelona Olympics represented a farewell tour of sorts for both players, though neither knew at time that it would be their final major competition together. The experience allowed them to end their competitive careers on a positive note as teammates rather than adversaries. The public perception of the Bird-Magic relationship changed significantly following Magic's diagnosis. What had been viewed primarily as a competitive rivalry was revealed to be a genuine friendship built in mutual respect and admiration that transcended basketball competition. Sports historians note that the timing of their departures marked the end of an era in NBA basketball and the beginning of a new generation led by players like Michael Jordan, who would dominate the 1990s. The long-term impact of Magic's diagnosis and Bird's reaction extended far beyond their individual careers. Their relationship became a symbol of how sports rivalries could evolve into meaningful friendships, and their story influenced how athletes approached competition and personal relationships. Magic's successful management of his HIV diagnosis and his eventual return to basketball helped change public perception of the disease and demonstrated that HIV-positive individuals could continue to lead productive, successful lives with proper medical care and treatment. Bird's support for Magic during this difficult period enhanced both of their legacies and showed the basketball world the importance of supporting teammates and competitors during personal crisis. Their example influenced how the NBA community responded to similar situations in later years. The friendship between Bird and Magic has been celebrated in documentaries, books, and other media that highlight the evolution of their relationship from fierce rivals to supportive friends. Their story has become one of the most enduring narratives in sports history. The basketball community continues to reference the Bird-Magic relationship as an example of how competition and friendship can coexist at the highest levels of professional sports. Their legacy extends beyond their individual achievements to include their impact on NBA culture and player relationships. Their rivalry helped save the NBA from declining popularity in the late 1970s and early 1980s. While their friendship demonstrated the values of respect, sportsmanship, and human compassion that define sports at their best. The combination of competitive excellence and personal character made both players iconic figures who transcended basketball. The medical advances in HIV treatment since 1991 have allowed Magic to live a full and healthy life, validating the hope and support that Bird and others showed during those uncertain early days. Magic's continued success in business and philanthropy has vindicated the faith that his friends and supporters placed in his ability to overcome his diagnosis. Bird's emotional response to Magic's diagnosis revealed a side of his personality that few fans had seen during his playing career. The stoic competitor who rarely showed vulnerability demonstrated genuine care and concern for his rival's well-being, humanizing both players in the eyes of the public. The story of their relationship continues to resonate with sports fans and serves as a reminder that the greatest rivalries often produce the strongest friendships. Their bond, forged through years of intense competition and mutual respect, proved strong enough to withstand one of the most challenging periods in either of their lives. Looking back at that November day in 1991, it's clear that Magic's announcement changed more than just his own life. It transformed how we view sports rivalries, friendship, and the human elements that make athletic competition meaningful. Bird's reaction to his friend's diagnosis showed the world that beneath the competitive fire of elite athletes lies the same capacity for compassion and support that defines our most important relationships. If you're as moved by this story of friendship and resilience as we are, go ahead and like this video. Drop your thoughts in the comments. How do you think sports rivalries can evolve into lasting friendships? What does the Bird-Magic relationship teach us about competition and compassion? We want to hear your perspective on how athletes can support each other through difficult times. Then hit subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss our coverage of sports history and the human stories that make athletics meaningful. Thanks for watching.